Hello and welcome to the Cosmic Mystics Club. This is Manda O'Brien, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my insights and experiences around our current astrological weather leading up to a partial new moon solar eclipse in Virgo on the 21st of September. That will be at about 10:30 in the morning Pacific time. So coming into the week on Monday, the 15th, we have the sun right on the cusp between Leo and Virgo. So within a couple of days, the sun will be shifting into Virgo, and the sun in Virgo brings a lot more energy and attention to practical reality, also to our health. It's a great time to get things done that you haven't been getting done, loose ends that are hanging around wanting to be finished. It's a very practical, long cycle of the sun because it takes about 45 days to go through the constellation of Virgo. And since we're using the True Sky astrology, I'll be reading this differently than tropical and Vedic astrologers would be, because their system is not accurate to the True Sky. It's about 2,000 years out of date with the sky. So we have the sun entering into Virgo, and we'll be feeling that as the week progresses. Mercury has just moved into Virgo, so you may notice more activity in the mind. Virgo is the ruler of Mercury, so it tends to be very strong here, and there can be a lot of good communication around practical things, healing, also to do with our own inner communication with ourselves, and just in general, things moving a little bit faster, especially with the Sun and Mercury so close together, as they're both just entering into Virgo. So we have Venus in Leo, and that's a really beautiful placement for Venus, which talks about our love for ourselves and for what we love in life coming from a very heart-centered, passionate, expressive place at the moment. And having fun and being more playful, more easygoing. The shadow side of Venus and Leo can be being too focused on yourself and not taking the bigger picture into consideration in matters of the heart. But for the most part, it's a beautiful place for Venus to be, and she'll be there for another month or so. So we also have, at the beginning of the week, the moon in Gemini, and it's moving towards Jupiter, which has been in Gemini for quite a while now. And this should also be a very interesting conjunction when the moon catches up to Jupiter, which will be Monday night, Tuesday, in that vicinity, possibly even Tuesday and Wednesday, because even as the moon is passing over and is close to Jupiter, conjunct Jupiter, we're going to feel this energy. And this can be a very emotionally feeling fortunate with the moon passing over Jupiter, even though it's in Gemini, which is more about, again, our day-to-day life and also what's going on in the mind. It can be a very uplifting effect to have the moon conjunct Jupiter here in Gemini. We might find some expansion, some new information, new emotions, new feelings coming in around the Monday, Tuesday time period. So as we progress through the week, most of the outer planet placements will be the same as what I'll be discussing in the solar eclipse chart. But just knowing that these local planets, Venus, Mercury, and then of course we have Mars still in Virgo, still wanting to focus on practicality and healing and combining beauty and practicality together, finding whatever that is for you, looking at your action energy from a place of creating beautiful, practical creations that serve both, and maybe even also that serve healing on some level, since Virgo is very much about healing and being of service, but also your own healing journey and serving your own healing journey with Mars there. So as we progress through the week and we get to the 21st, we're going to find that the lunar energy will shift from Gemini into Cancer and then into Leo. And then when we have this new moon solar eclipse on the 21st, the moon and the sun are conjunct. That's what a new moon is. The new moon, the sun and the moon are in the same location, and they're both here in Virgo. So this is a very earthy eclipse. When we look at the full moon total eclipse that we had on September 7th in Aquarius, this was much more about, you could say, processing through ways in which we limit ourselves, limit our own freedom, and coming through that full moon eclipse portal. I know for me, I'm just starting to get this sense of having let go and released a lot that was limiting and holding me back. And I don't know if anyone else is having that experience. I'd love to hear in the comments what your experience of the lunar eclipse was. But as we move into this new moon energy, this is the beginning of a whole new lunar cycle. So this whole week is the completion of the last lunar cycle, which began with the moon in Leo. And usually the last week of the lunar cycle, it's a more lower energy, because the moon is waning, it's getting smaller and smaller, and the energy can be much more in need of rest. It's a quieter, more low energy phase of the lunar cycle until we have the new moon, and then the new energy starts coming in for the next lunar month. So this new energy will be coming in on the 21st in Virgo and bringing in a new cycle of practicality combined with beauty and healing. That's really what I'm seeing here. And lunar eclipse cycles can play out for 6 months to a year even, depending on the eclipses. So it's a good thing to pay attention to what was happening around the full moon lunar eclipse, what you feel was being eclipsed out of your life, and then to pay attention to what's around the few days of the solar eclipse, the new moon, so you can see what new energy is coming in, because that will be sort of a theme for the next month and possibly for the next 6 months. So with Mercury there in Virgo and also Mars in Virgo, we have a huge focus on earthiness, healing, and also gardening, medicinal plants. This would be a good time if you're going to start taking any medicinal herbs. This would be a great time to start that on the new moon in Virgo. If you're going to start any new health programs for yourself, things that you would like to see for yourself in your own healing journey. This is a great time to begin those. New habits, new routines, breaking out of patterns that may have been working up to a certain point but are no longer serving. So this is going to give you the inspiration and the energy that you need to do this. And it takes a few days for the new moon energy to start building. But with, the various other placements that we have going on, you can see we have the moon and the sun there on the top left of the chart, and then they're in opposition to Saturn and Neptune, who are retrograde in Pisces, Pisces being the opposite sign of Virgo. So even though it's an opposition, it can be quite balancing depending on how you work with it, because when you're dealing with any of the zodiac signs, you're also dealing with the polarity because they come together. It's one energy, Virgo and Pisces. They're two extremes of one energy. So when you're able to blend them together and kind of find your balance with them, you get a beautiful synthesis of both energies where you have the practicality and the groundedness of Virgo, the connection to nature, and you also have the expansiveness of Neptune in Pisces, the emotional depth, the connection with the mysterious and the invisible realms, and Saturn there in Pisces bringing in more discipline into your spiritual experience, more maturity. So it's a very nice axis to have. And Saturn is moving a little bit away from Neptune because he moves faster than Neptune. So we're getting a little bit less intensity. These two have been together all year. But I feel like that combination of the sun and moon in Virgo, Saturn and Neptune in Pisces could be a very creative time this next lunar month, bringing in a new flavor of creativity that very much has to do with our own well-being, our own health, our daily habits, our routines, and also the way that we relate to the world as well. With Jupiter there in Gemini, trine in a harmonious aspect to Saturn and Neptune, bringing some of that into our ordinary everyday life, some of that depth and maturity and creativity. Because Jupiter expands anything that it comes in contact with, and it's going to assist us. And you can see if you look at this chart, it's like a kite. We've got the sun and the moon at the top left point, and then one side going over to Uranus, which is in Taurus, and then joining with Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, and then going across to Pluto, who's on the cusp of Capricorn and Sagittarius. So Pluto being on this cusp could bring in some of what we've been through in the last number of years, because it's close enough now to Sagittarius where we could be having, because it's retrograde, reflecting or having things show up internally or externally that played out a few years ago when Pluto was really deeply in Sagittarius. And just having the opportunity to look at that from a new perspective, from a more mature perspective, maybe, with that sextile over to Saturn and Neptune. And I feel like that's actually a really good thing. With all these retrograde planets, pretty much everybody except for Jupiter and the outer planets are retrograde. So it's a very deeply internal eclipse. And it's bringing light into our inner process and giving us the opportunity to create more balance and more harmony within ourselves. So I think you'll find that, as always, being in nature, taking more time to slow down and connect with nature, and to really have clarity about what new energy you want to welcome in to yourself, into your life, into your relationships, into your relationship with your body. Virgo is a very earthy, body-centered sign. And also what new energy you're ready to start embodying in regards to your connection to spirit, and whatever that is for you, your spiritual connection. And the higher octave of love, Neptune, compassion, and what new energy has been showing up for you in relation to all of these different areas through the first total lunar eclipse, sort of clearing some things out, bringing in more clarity, more completion, and now on this powerful new cycle that's beginning. It's a great time to set intentions that you're clear about and to look forward to a very practical, grounded next month or more with all this Virgo energy we have at the moment. But other than that, there's not much else here that I see that's relevant. It's mostly just really getting clear about new ways to take care of your body, new ways to take action that includes beauty and practicality, and keeping the balance between being of service to others and being with yourself, being deeply internal. And that's going to be unique for each person, how that plays out. But it's a very beautiful, powerful energy, and I hope you all enjoy this beautiful new moon and set your intentions, and let me know in the comments how it feels for you and what you've noticed coming up since we began eclipse season on September 7th. And if you have any questions, you can also leave them in the comments. But thanks for joining me, and until the next Cosmic Mystics Report, wishing you lots of love and fun and good energy for this next lunar cycle.